Well, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. Good morning. How are you today? You good? Well, I'm happy to hear that. Okay. So before we start our class, I will invite you to let's open our class by reciting basmalah together. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Well, thank you very much. Okay. So, the first of all, have you read or heard a good story? Have you? Oh, well, good. What story is that? Is there any moral value you can take from the story? Yeah, good. Thank you. Yeah, good job. Today we are going to talk about narrative text. Before we go to the definition of narrative text, here are the examples of narrative text from Indonesia. The verses, of course, you know about Sangkuriang, right? What about Telaga Warna? Have you ever heard about that? Yeah, good job. And then Danau Toba, Ande-Ande Lumut, Purbasari and Lutung Kasarung, Roro Jonggrang, and any other examples from Indonesian's narrative text. The next slide is we'll be going to the example from our verses. Foreign. The verses Three Little Pigs and a Wolf. The next is Peter Pan. And then Snow White, the famous one. And then Hansel and Gretel with the cake house. Have you ever heard about that? And Cinderella, of course. Everyone in this world knows about this story. And the last is Pinocchio, but it's not actually the last because there are a lot of examples again of the narrative text from Avices. Let's go to the next slide. We are going to talk about the definition of narrative text. You can see from your board, narrative text is a form of writing that recounts a story or a series or event and can be either fiction or non-fiction. For example, include novels, short stories, poems, memoirs, biographies, and news stories. And the next is characteristic. Narrative texts have a beginning, middle, and end. Yes, it's kind of common characteristic for text. With events arranged chronologically, they use descriptive language to create vivid mental pictures of the characters, setting, and events of the story. The purpose is to entertain the readers. Now we are going to generic structure. In narrative text, there are four generic structure. The first is orientation, complication, resolution, and reorientation. We will see the definition. The first is orientation. Orientation of a story should answer the question of who, where, and when. It sets the stage for the stories and helps identify the character and setting. The next is complication. The three parts of the story's problem are the rising action, climax, and falling action. The rising action presents the problem. The climax is the peak of the problem and the emergence of the solution. The next is resolution. The resolution is the part of a story where conflicts or problems introduced earlier and addressed, and characters may overcome obstacles, find solutions, or experience personal growth. And the last is reorientation. Sometimes reorientation inside a resolution. But what is the reorientation? Reorientation is this section appears at the end of the story, providing a summary or commentary on the characters' experiences and the impact of their actions. It helps readers to reflect on intended message or lesson. So we can find the moral value inside the reorientation. Let's see the next. Next, we have a language features. The verse is using past tense. Using past tense creates the sequence and helps readers follow the plot and understand the event progressions. Yes, it's really help because past tense is talking about something that happened in the past. And of course, we can understand the story when we know like what time it happened and so on. And the next is using adverb of time. Adverb of time is time expressions aid in understanding the chronology and currents of events in a narrative text. So it's also help the readers to understand the time because it's explained about time. The next is using adjectives. Adjectives modify nouns by providing more information about them, like color, like black, white, blue, pink, orange, and so on. Shape, kind of rectangle, circle, cone, and so on. Size, big, small, short, tall, and characteristics. Characteristics is human being. Kind, selfish, cheerful, and so on. They help create a more vivid and detailed story in a narrative text. I do agree with that. And the last but not least is using noun phrases. Noun phrases in a narrative text provide more detailed descriptions. For what? For highlighting specific parts of characters or settings and explaining complex ideas concisely. Yeah, and the next is we are going to talk about the types of narrative text. List of narrative texts. 4. The first is fable. Do you know what is fable? Of course, we have learned about it before. Fable, a story usually with animal characters that exhibit human-like behavior. Yeah, kind of wolf pretending to be a grandmother, and then it means that animal pretend to be a human. And fable used for educational purposes. If you ever heard about kancil, right? Kancil dan buaya. It has educational purposes, right? The next is fantasy. A story featuring unrealistic characters and events. Yeah, fantasy for unrealistic characters. Have you ever seen like mermaid in your real life? Wow, I'm so curious about your answer. By the way, let's go to the next. Folk tale. An oral tradition is an old story that has been passed down verbally, offering insight into a culture's customs. So folk tale, when the story it has been passed down verbally, like your great grandmother talk about it, your grandmother talk about it, even your mom talk about it, and it has a relation with culture. So it means that it's folk tale. Kinda. What is that? Can you give me the example? Yes, good job. Malin Kunda. And it also has a moral value. What is moral value of Malin Kunda? Yeah, we need to appreciate our parents. Good job. We need to what? Yeah, we cannot be so arrogant and selfish. Good job, good job. Okay. Thank you for your answer. Let's go to the next. The next is legend. Tell us the origin of a place whose truth cannot be ascertained. Yes, kinda. Borobudur Temple, Prambanan Temple, right? We don't know. Yeah, it really happened by the ghost or demon building it or something. We don't know. But when people trust it, then yes, it's part of the legend of narrative text. I'm sorry if you can't hear the cats. That's my cat. And let's see the next. Fairy tale. A fairy tale involves folkloric characters like fairies, goblin, dwarves, often featuring magic or enchantments. So it's kind of Tinkerbell, fairy godmother, and so on. Good job, fairy godmother and on a Cinderella story. Thank you. The next is myth. Definition of an ancient story used to explain life's mysteries. Yeah. Have you ever heard about Made in Your Place? Wow, I'm so curious with your answer. You can drop your answer in the comment. The next is science fiction. Science fiction is that class of prose narrative treating a situation that could not arise in the world we know. You must give a big attention with that word. Situation that could not arise in the world we know. Yes, that's kind of science fiction. Can it Superman? Is it real? Is it literally available in our world that we know? Could it rise in our world that we know? Who knows? No one knows. So we can call it as a narrative text. And the last but not least is biography. A biography is a written record of someone else's life. Have you ever heard about Sukarno's biography? Or have you ever watched about B.T. Habib's movie? Yeah, that's kind of biography's narrative form. Okay, so for the next slide is we are going to see say 9 pictures. Anyone knows what stories is? Yes, good job. It's Cinderella's story. Okay, so let us see and applying language features that we have already learned before by this story. The first pictures explain about Cinderella that looks so tired and she was washing the dishes. And the second picture shows us that Cinderella's stepmother was angry to her while Cinderella was sweeping the floor. And also, the third picture shows us that Cinderella had 2 stepsisters. And it seems with the second pictures, Cinderella was mopping the floor while her 2 stepsisters mocking on her. Picture number 4 shows us that Cinderella looked so tired until she fell asleep. She fell asleep on her bed in front of the cinder with her fox. And as we know, Prince have a party. And Cinderella really excited to went there. Cinderella prepared her mother's gown, but unfortunately, her stepmothers took the dress, took the gown, and wear it by herself with her 2 stepsisters. Cinderella couldn't went to Cinderella couldn't go to the party by herself because she didn't have any gown. Then Cinderella was crying. Unfortunately, there were a fairy godmother there. Fairy godmother helped the Cinderella. Fairy godmother changed the pumpkin to be anything that could help Cinderella. Finally, Cinderella could be a princess, and Cinderella could meet with the prince. But as we know from the original story, Cinderella leave her a half of shoe, glass of shoe, and Prince looked for it, and then Prince found the Cinderella with the glass shoes, and they are married and live happily hereafter. Those are the origin or the common stories that we can share and we can talk about Cinderella. Now I will give you an assignment. I please you to write down or explain each pictures like this, but I will give you something different now. Here we are. Yeah, I will give you two different pictures in the end of Cinderella's story. So we can call it as a Cinderella new version. I hope you can rewrite with your imagination and being so creative to create the new Cinderella new version. This one. You can write down the narrative story by the Cinderella new version and please tell me about the orientation, complication, resolution, and reorientation. Don't forget to put the moral value you can take from the story. I will wait your answer in the column section, commenter section, or in the Google Class or G form that I provide for. Thank you very much for watching and listening this class. I hope I can see you in a real life. Don't forget to do your homework, keep your health, and keep on fire. You know that English is so fun. You know the English is so easy and English is important because English is communicative language and international language, of course. But thank you very much for coming in this section. Let's close our meeting by reciting Alhamdulillah together. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. And I will see you in another occasion. As I say, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you guys. Bye bye.